Hello and welcome to another episode of Combos and Chill. This is getting really interesting now for me because I'm getting to know a lot of other artists and musicians and different people, and it's really interesting for me because I'm learning from them as well. So without any further ado, welcome to the show. This show called Combos and Chill is regarding me and my guests clicking on topics that we have the same interest, and we talk about it over a cup of tea. So welcome to the session, and thank you very much for tuning in. If you're tuning in, if you're not watching, if you're watching, thank you very much for being here. And before jumping to the main frame with my guest, I just wanted to give a shout out to the people that been helping me out with this journey of me with Combos and Chill, and been a huge part of it. And it's like a token of appreciation. Sorry about my English. A token of appreciation, just to mention their name and say that they've been part of this journey with me and they helped me out. So people on this list are Barney Rivera from Nerf Cell, Adnan from the Unmuted Show. He was helping me a lot with the technical side of this journey, and kudos to you. And I got Akhilesh, that he's the man behind the illustration. He did all the designs. And EHSAN KHOLGHI, he's in charge of the design, like the video designs in the show. And RC, she's been a great friend of mine, and she's been helping me out, like giving me ideas and feedbacks. And thanks to all of these people, and because of them, this is my motive that I'm going forward. And thank you very much, guys. And I will not waste any more time. My guest is one of the most interesting people I have came across in Dubai. Her sense of arts is literally new to me, and I'm really digging her stuff, and I really want to know things about her, like how she does these things. So apparently she's been doing a lot of experiments with a lot of techniques and everything, and it's really interesting to know the tricks and what she's been doing all this time, and just go into details and the insights about her journey. So her name is Myrto Petrou. She's from Cyprus, and she's been here for a while. I don't know how I didn't met her, but without any further ado, this is my guest. And Myrto, how you doing? And welcome to Convos and Chill.
Hey, I'm good, thanks. How about you?
Not bad, not bad. So how you been? It's really like I'm like, you know what? I mean, I always say like we have a tiny community when it comes to arts and music in Dubai, and I'm like, I even told you off air, like I know I met you, but we never had the chance to, like, I never knew you're an artist. And I found out through other people. I'm like, damn, man, she's really into some sick stuff, like good designs and good drawings and all this digital arts that you do. So I don't want to explain all that because that's your job to explain it. So just a question: how have you been coping up with this whole pandemic nowadays?
I've been okay. I mean, I have a day job as a graphic designer that I usually work remotely from, so my life hasn't changed too much.
Hmm.
But it was just that lockdown that was a little bit difficult. I think it was hard for everyone. So, I mean, what are you going to do, right?
So, well, like, was it affecting your category of job or whatever you were doing, or you were just doing it online and you had clients? Like, it was not affecting you that much.
No, not really. I mean, most of my clients for my freelance jobs are not in the country anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And with work, because my job's in Abu Dhabi, I work from Dubai most of the time. So it was just emails and calls.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
you've been doing well, comparing to other people. Like, they've been. I had a lot of people that were nagging about this thing, and they were like, "Man, what the hell is this? That we need to have like I need to wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning and just to have a Zoom meeting with the boss just to keep us in track. It
Yeah.
was a bit like weird for people to adjust to this whole thing, and it's just, yeah, it happens. So can you tell us, okay, let's jump into the whole topic, and can you tell us when was the first time that you really got into the whole art? What was the main focus point for you that made you pursue this career?
Well, I think it was when I first saw Looney Tunes, so specifically the Tasmanian Devil. I mean, I was into character design since I discovered the amazingness of 90s animation.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just started copying those guys, and it kind of led to something. But that was only a lot later. I mean, I was into design before I took illustration seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there was a lot of elements to it, I suppose.
So, like as you said, so that was your first ever, let's say, what's the word? Like interaction with the whole art platform, or like how did you get into it? Did you take any classes, or like anyone in the family, or what was the main, let's say, gate to that whole thing?
Well, my mom used to paint, and I did do a lot of painting classes, but those came later. And it was always kind of more realistic, because back then no one took cartooning very seriously, at least with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I only really got back into it after I finished my degree at university. And I realized that there's a market for this kind of thing, and you can be as experimental as you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was when I got back into it and found this style and the work you see now.
And we got Omar in the house who's saying what's up, Myrto, and we got Saram in the house he's saying loving the Rick and Morty on your wall. Yeah, I'm like a huge fan of Rick and Morty as well. Like, did you see the latest episodes?
Yeah, I don't know what to make of them. I mean, I loved the first few seasons, but then it just felt kind of
What
forced.
can you make from Rick and Morty? It's just like just a show that you need just to like, sit down and like just understand, try to cope up with whatever is happening.
Mm,
So,
absolutely.
yeah. So we got Akilish in the house. This is the guy I was telling you that he was sending in some questions for you. And Akilish, it's good that you're in here. Okay, you go ahead and ask her whatever you want in the comment section. By the way, whoever is watching, please do me a favor. Share the video on your timeline or with your friends and let them know about the page. Let's get more traffic into the page and let them know about this community. And hopefully we can make more content that we can become that pop in the whole society. So back to you, Myrto. So yeah, Pickle Rick. People already noticing that whole Rick and Morty. I mean, here you go. You just made a topic in the comment section. Everyone is talking about Rick and Morty now.
Nice.
So okay, so there was no you didn't start from an early age. Just okay, when was your first drawing ever? Like when was like that properly made that you were very proud of? Like, oh my god, I did this by myself. When was that?
Man, I don't even remember. I mean,
Come on,
obviously,
click it back.
like you draw something right when you're 5, and you're damn proud of it because that's the extent of your capabilities. But if you look at it today, it's like, what the hell was I thinking?
Okay, what was it? Do you remember?
I think the first one that kind of pushed me into drawing was the Tasmanian Devil.
Nice. That's one of my favorite characters in the whole Warner Bros. Franchise.
Yeah, I agree. He's just so odd.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't even remember. I want to say like 11.
Like you don't keep track of these things? Like you don't have them on you?
No, these really old ones are just lost to time.
Okay, we have the first question hitting in from Akilish himself. He's asking anatomy or gesture drawing?
I mean, anatomy, I'm not actually very good at anatomy or any of that. It's kind of on a need-to-know basis. So if I'm drawing a character that's has a specific stance or something, that's when I'll start looking into it. And I know that's unprofessional and I should probably go back to basics, but it's very time-consuming.
Okay, he's already in with the second question. Drawing in your room or drawing outdoors in the open air? I think he's talking regarding like the whole environment you built for yourself, like that headspace. So in your room.
Definitely in my room, because I don't know if you can see, but this is one of my toy collections. So I
Mm-hmm.
collect kind of like vinyl and resin artist toys.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to be surrounded by these guys to really get into the mood and to draw.
Like, is that your like? Is that how you get into the mood to draw? Like, that's your main thing. Like, you need to be by yourself and to be surrounded by these. You mean?
I mean, I need constant inspiration, so I need things to look at, and these little cartoon figures make me happy. So I just need to keep looking and kind of observing the colors and the gestures, and then I get back into it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Very, very interesting. I mean, uh, like even as a musician, like sometimes we sit down and we have a, sometimes we have a drink, but not me anymore. But get it like having a drink or talking to a friend or going traveling some places. It gives you that extra push to do that, and it's very interesting that you need to actually like be by yourself, and you need these things to be around you to give you that motive to that inspiration that you need to go ahead with it. It's a very interesting point, and um, the thing is like I wanted to move in like the early days that you started experimenting. Can you tell us first of all with what stuff that you experimented, what techniques and what tools you've used, and can you give us a rundown? Like, I mean, take your time, give us a rundown about the whole experiment.
I mean, initially it was just coloring pencils because that's what I had access to, right? So like cheap felt tips and coloring pencils. And then later on, it became plasticine, kind of air dry plasticine. Because when you have your character in 3D, it just makes it like a whole new, I don't know, character. It puts it into a different dimension. So it's actually really interesting to kind of hold him in your hand, you know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Obviously, paint. I used to use oils. Now I prefer acrylics just because it's faster and easier. Uh, what else? I mean, sometimes I like pencil and charcoal to get a bit messy, but then it kind of irritates me when I've got stuff on my hands.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, now mostly just inks. Sometimes I use alcohol-based felt tips or markers for that kind of smooth color. And
Uh,
often I just kind of put things on Illustrator and digitalize them that way.
and on that topic, this friend of mine, Akilish, was telling me to ask you, uh, like, what he mentioned, what you call it, favorite Copic marker? Is I mean,
Yeah.
sorry if I'm butchering it. He was asking if you have any favorite Copic marker, or I mean, these type of things. Yeah, Copic or Sharpie.
As in color-wise?
Uh, I think so, because I'm not sure. He told me to ask you this, and I told you it was very like late to the session. So, Akilish, why you don't do me a favor and jump in the comment section, because he asked you over here as well, Copic or Sharpie. Just mention in full details what you want to ask. So for now, so you've been like experimenting with a lot of techniques, as in like you said, clays and stuff. So, what made you go through the whole clay, like was it something that you were interested in, or because you got into painting and like digital arts, you came across that whole the clay making and that sort of art, and you gravitated towards that? Or was it always like on back of your mind, you really wanted to do this?
Well, it was mainly finding out that there is such a thing as artist toys. And when I found out about it, it was still pretty early days. I mean, there's always been collectibles, but not kind of these characters. It was mostly like comic based.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I found out about that, I really wanted to tap into that market and just create some characters in 3D. It's still in the early stages. I mean, I've done a few, but ideally I'd like to try and cast them and make multiples and then be able to give them to different artists to draw on. So it
Mm-hmm.
creates kind of a broader spectrum.
So it's not only you want to work on the 3D part as well. So you have ideas about the 3D, because I had an artist on my show a few weeks back. He's into calligraphy, and he does this 3D sort of paintings, as in uh, I mean, it's quite hard for me to explain it because it's that whole specific topic as calligraphy, but the way he does it as a 3D option, he uses strings to connect the calligraphy art, like, the whole words to some sort of like on the ground and create a 3D option out of it, so it becomes an art piece by itself. So it's very interesting that there is, I mean, we always thought like it's only like in like some sort of art platforms that you have that open area that you can go crazy and do crazy stuff out of the box. But when it comes to painting, we actually came so far that, I mean, there is 3D art now, and sculptures. And I mean, if I'm using the wrong words or something or terms. I mean, you get what I'm saying. Like, we really like advanced in this whole thing. So, I mean, it's really interesting. So, do you remember when was your first attempt to do the clay, or you really don't have any you don't have any idea of it?
I mean, plasticines I've been using since I was like a kid, right? But I found out about this polymer clay, which is quite tough to work. So initially it was quite daunting, but it was actually for a competition at this festival in New York called 5 Points Fest. And they gave you, so there was this toy called the Anna toy that was like a basic kind of white one. And then you had to buy that and create something with it. So like give it a theme and build on that. So I created this little tribal warrior guy with kind of like it was a ram's skull as a head mask. And I mean, that was the first attempt. So it was very simple. And I kind of found out how brittle this material can be once it's been baked, and all of its difficulties and how you can use it properly. But it was still early days, so.
So you said that okay, that whole cooking process, that sorry, not cooking, as in like baking it. Uh, can you give us a rundown about that? Is like there is any specific what you say? Is there like a specific way of doing it, or like specific ovens, or like can you give us a rundown about that?
So when you buy it, it comes in like blocks, right? And it's you need to work it so it softens, otherwise it's really hard and brittle. So once you soften it, then you can work into it and kind of create your sculpture, however you choose to do that. And then once it's done, it needs to be baked. There's like instructions. It's 15 minutes per, I think, depending on the thickness. I think it's 1 centimeter thickness. It equals 15 minutes. So it's just any normal oven. You
So
would
it
bake.
depends. Sorry to cut you. It depends on the measurement to do the
Yeah.
baking. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because you don't want to overbake it. It would burn. And then you don't want to underbake it because it's still soft.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah. And then once that's done, you just take it out the oven and you prime it. So then you paint over that and you varnish it, and there you go.
That's great. That's very interesting. I've never knew about these things. I mean, I had an idea, but I've never been that much into it. And Akilish is yes, he's confirming. Yes, he's talking about the colors when it about that comic. Sorry, Copic. What's that? Yeah, Copic marker. He's talking about the color.
Okay. No specific color. I mean, I've got a massive collection of Copic pens, so it really depends on the illustration and what colors it requires, I suppose.
So you don't have any favorite one, as in it depends.
It really depends. I mean, my favorite color combo is always yellow, turquoise, and a pink, like a fluorescent kind of bright pink.
And he's asking if like favorite software other than Photoshop and Procreate, if you have any.
Yeah, Illustrator by far. Like it's the only one I'm using now. It's been like 6-7 months. I haven't touched Procreate. I'm not a big fan of pixels. I like vector. So I love the fact that you can manipulate every single point on Illustrator.
And is that because of your line of work, or is just because your work requires to work? I mean, your line of work now requires to be done with that software?
No, I mean, it's just my process. It really depends on the artist and the kind of image that they want to create. So it varies, I guess, from person to person.
And Brent, I think yeah, Brent Rivera's in the house. Thank you very much for tuning in, dude. It's been a while since I've seen you. I mean, by the way, whoever is watching, please do me a favor and share this video. Sorry if I'm throwing this in and out sometimes, but do me a favor, show some love, share the video on your timeline, and tell your friends about the page. And Brent is asking, and is there any type of practice you would suggest for someone who wants to get into arts?
Any specific kind of art, or just
I mean,
start
I
drawing?
think, yeah, let's talk about your category, like with whatever you started as, in, like, let's say the whole digital arts, or
I'd say just pick up a pen and start drawing. I mean, if you want to do it, there's got to be something that inspires you, right? So start by copying an artist's work that you like, and then you will slowly discover your own technique. And I think digital comes later. I'd say the best thing to do is to start pen on paper and kind of understand the movements of your wrist and that kind of thing, and then move it on to the digital realm.
yeah, there is a barrage of freaking questions for you. I mean, I think everyone was waiting for you to get on the session with me and just like ask you, because, come on, that's great. Yeah, I mean, how you feel?
Well, like a rock star, man.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's the thing. That's what I love about this show. Like, when there is a guest, it's not much like, it's that connection with the comment section. When they barrage, like, that whole load of freaking questions come in. I mean, that's great. Yeah. I mean, I feel excited. I'm sure you're excited as well, because they're touching down on a lot of specific details. I mean, aside that, I have enough details that I'm gonna be asking you soon enough in the session. So on that point, I hope that answers your question, Brent. And Akilish is asking, do you use Super Sculpey polymer clay?
Yeah, yeah. It's Super Sculpey. I've got it here, the firm one. So it's this packaging. It's just easier later. I mean, a lot of really famous toy artists don't. They use the stuff that you have to blend, and you have to work very quickly because that dries. It doesn't require baking. But Super Sculpey is great for beginners, and the fact that it's firm allows you to kind of add textures to it and dig into it without ruining your shape.
So okay, so is this is this for a specific type of clay work, or it can be used for anything, as in like in that genre of making clays and stuff? Am I even using the right words?
What do you mean? Like,
I
is
mean,
this just
is there any other, like, is this specific for that type of clay art that you want to do, or you can use any other any other of this, like, okay, what are these, by the way? These are like doughs, or like what, or the mud?
It's a polymer clay, so I think it's oil-based, and it just means it doesn't air dry. So you can literally have it on your desk for like 4 years and work on it whenever you feel like it.
So you see how dumb I am when it comes to this stuff?
No, I mean, this is the only one I really know about. Like, there's a million options out there, but I'm not the best person to ask. I've only used.
Okay, Akilish, I hope that answers your question. And Akilish is asking, oh man, this guy is on a fucking rampage. He's asking, do you take a whole black, or do you put the clay on an armature skeleton?
Yeah, it's so the thing is, because this stuff is expensive, right? And you don't get a lot. So I'll usually create an armature and then put foil around that to fill out the space, and then start building onto it.
And yeah, I mean, so far these are the questions. I'm sure there will be more coming in. So anyway, let's kick it back into the main topic. As in, okay, the whole thing that whenever I talk to my guest, I try to see what is their imagination about the future of the topic that we're talking about. For instance, this one is regarding the new wave of arts, the stuff that you do, and those artists. What is that perception in their head and what they're trying to portray for the future? Do you understand where I'm going with this? Like, what is your take on the new technology that can be, enhancing the whole art platform that you're working with? Or have you ever thought about like, making something new, or like experimenting and creating a new tool or like a new technique that can, be useful in the like near future?
Well, when it comes to techniques, I think it's already highly personal. I mean, the way someone draws or the way they hold their pen, for example, is specific to that person, right? As for creating new techniques and stuff, I prefer analog to digital. That's why all my drawings start off analog.
Mm-hmm.
As for where it's going, I mean, it's limitless. There's so many options, and these days you can, or at any point you could have used anything to create art, right? Whether it's like gravel from the street or, I don't know, blades of grass. You can just assemble things and create something new. So it really depends on what you're trying to achieve, I suppose.
Like, is there, if you have any on top of your mind that they actually did something new for the art platform as a new techniques? Can you name few if you have in mind?
New techniques, I mean, I think it's just more application. So, and I don't know how new this is, but there's an artist called Stephen Harrington that made a skate park in, I think it was California. So he used his illustrations and then cut them out of wood and made kind of the ramps and all the different elements to the skate park. And that was awesome. And it's something I had never seen before, but I'm sure that existed before. So like to illustrate on skate parks or basketball courts or whatever.
Well,
But I don't know
yeah.
if I can answer the question.
No, I mean, like, what I'm trying to, I mean, for example, let's say, like, Jim Morrison, when they ask him, I'm sure you know Jim Morrison, yeah, from the band The Doors. When they
Yeah.
asked them about, like, what you think that the future technology for sound would it be, he said, like, a lot of digital sounds. And you see that we are already in that era, that there is a lot of digital sound and frequencies that, musicians, they use in their music. So
Yeah.
I like to look at things that, I'm sure there is room for advance, like, for enhancing your craft or enhancing that same uh, category of that, you have a lot of like-minded people in it, and I'm sure everyone, this comes across everyone's mind, that they want to see something out of the box or like invent something, and sometimes it fails, but sometimes it's really legit and it sticks around and becomes an iconic thing to do in that whole specific category, that platform. And I mean, as an artist, the like how to say it, as an artist, obviously you think that there is something that can be done to enhance this. So, but still, you didn't reach to that point. Like, you never gave it enough thought, or like, did you think about it, but you tried and you failed? Was it something like this when it came with your experiments?
I don't think you can pinpoint with art, because it's not like all art will become digital, or I don't have that much experience in the digital field to say how that will progress. But I think when it comes to like the arts in general, the options are just limitless. So I don't know if there's one certain thing that sticks out, for example. And yeah, I haven't really given it much thought because I'm happy in my little enclosure for now.
Okay, I mean, okay. So you're saying there is more room in the whole digital side of it, and yeah, obviously we can expect a lot of things from the digital aspect, because it's much more easy access, in my opinion, because everything nowadays is just becoming at your fingertips, and you can use it. But in my opinion, like, I personally prefer the whole natural art, as in what I say, what I mean by natural art, the one that's drawn by the person. With digital arts, I think it's much more for the other stuff, as in like game designs and like these type of things. I'm just sharing my how to say it, my personal point of view on the thing. I just enjoy much more of the canvas paintings and stuff like this. So, okay, you do more of canvas stuff, or you do more like just solely digital?
No, neither really. I mostly draw on paper and then scan that into Illustrator, and then I just digitalize it to add color to it because I don't like most of the time I don't like coloring in my originals because I make color variations and I'm very indecisive when it comes to color. So everything that you've seen starts off ink on paper.
Okay, and Akilish is asking another question. Would you ever prefer digital sculpting and sculpting and 3D printing over conventional sculpting?
I mean, the 3D printing does make things much easier, but there's something really special about actually creating it with your hands. So I mean, it is also much more difficult, right? But then it's also much more rewarding. And the biggest issue I had when working with 3D designers to digitally print my characters was having to draw all the views, so like top view, side view, front view, because I don't fully understand how those work yet. Whereas when I'm creating it, I have to understand. So it just cuts that process out.
I mean, sorry to cut you off. What is it that you don't understand? Is it like the software, or like what is it? Is it because of that limitation you're talking about? You don't know how to use it, or just you have a creative blockage?
I don't use 3D software. Like, I know the very basics, but for me, trying to learn a software and the technical aspects of that kind of make it less arty, if you know what I mean, less creative. So you'd have to draw all the elevations of your character and then give it to a 3D designer that can translate that into 3D. You can't just give them like the front view because they don't know what the back looks like. So just having to do that was a drag, and I decided that it's probably easier for me to start sculpting it.
So I mean, you tried to give it to a 3D like an artist so you can see the final product. By the way, can you do me a favor? Can you turn to your left a bit?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because you were eventually getting off screen. So yeah, back to the point. Like, so you tried it, but the end result wasn't the one that you were expecting.
I didn't even go for it in the end. I just left it kind of halfway and said, never mind, I'll try something different.
And
Yeah.
as the thing is, like, you know what? Okay, let's jump into the whole gaming section for a bit. Okay, it's like a trivia thing I do. Like I'm sure you're not familiar with it, but I gave you a like a what you call it, like an instruction thing earlier. Wow, I'm stuttering so much. Anyway, so I will be providing you with two answers. Okay, two choices. You can choose
Yeah.
any of them, and if you choose any of them, you can explain why you chose that, and feel free to explain.
Cool.
You good to go?
I'm good to go.
Okay, the first one. Do you like artworks with simple approach or hidden stuff in it?
What do you mean by that?
As in, like, if there's any message behind it that it actually takes the viewer a lot of time to figure out, or like a very easy access storyline to the point.
It really depends. I'm more of a visual person, so if I like it visually, then it can be either or. It doesn't need to have that requirement behind it for me to like it.
Okay, and just to let the guys know in the chat box, you guys can join us for this section and put your answers in the comment section so we can, talk about it and gain information from each other. And moving on, I think you already answered this, but I'm gonna just ask you again. Like, headspace is needed, or I can just draw at any place?
No, headspace for sure.
For sure, like you, like have you ever tried it to be like outside and draw something?
I mean, it's not really where you are, it's more like literally your headspace. Like if you're not in the mood to draw and you try, it's just not going to work for you. And then it ends up frustrating you. But I can draw anywhere as long as I have the motivation for it, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. And moving on, are you critic friendly or no?
What do you mean?
I mean, are you okay if someone like nitpick your stuff, as in like you did that, you did this, like critics,
Yeah. No, sure, but I think it's a little harder with illustration because it's not really. There's no right or wrong. I mean, with design, you can see something and say that this logo looks off because the font is slightly messed up or whatever. When it comes to illustration, I think they can criticize your message and maybe your anatomy if that's something you're into.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't mind it. I enjoy hearing different views on my work.
So, like, you've been getting like any feedback on your like bad feedback or something like this on your.
I mean, I've had some negative comments, kind of like, what the hell are you drawing? They're so devilish. Why are they all bleeding? You know, sometimes my art disturbs people, and that's fine with me. It kind of.
You could have just tell them I'm metal in heart. So you got bad feedback, as in not bad feedback. I mean, I don't see anything like having a bad feedback is just like acquired taste, in my opinion. You either like it or you don't like it. It's like food, and and plus people really like to talk shit, if you understand what I'm saying, because they're jealous.
I don't see it that way. It's just I don't think my work is for everyone, and that's fine. And I kind of like this feedback because if my art makes people uncomfortable, then that's kind of what I was going for.
That's a good approach. I mean, we always like as an artist also, I try to as an ignore and use whatever they tell me to ignite more motive for myself to go forward, and that's a very 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 good way to go about it. So moving on, I think you already answered this also way ahead in the show. Sketch then coloring or everything from the get-go?
Sketch, then coloring for sure.
Mm-hmm. And next one, 3D art or you're not a fan?
Say that again, sorry.
3D art or you're not a fan?
I mean, it's nice to look at, but I don't want to do it. If you're talking about digital 3D, if it's like toys, then yeah. But it's not an either or, it's kind of just both.
Mm-hmm. And okay, on that topic, it's a good segue to ask you this. What's your take on the whole virtual galleries?
Is that something they're doing now? I'm not sure.
Because I had a friend of mine who, because he couldn't fund his like physically go for it and have a gallery, so he did a virtual gallery online, and he posted the link. So it was literally like very interesting. It was like a room, and his art pieces were on the wall, and you could walk and go and like zoom in and and watch everything, and you could even purchase if you wanted to, like there was options and everything. Like I just wanted to see like what is your take on that. Have you ever been like have you ever heard about it, or have you seen any?
This is the first time hearing. I mean, it sounds awesome, but for me it's part of the experience of seeing art is actually physically being there and being a part of it. But that being said, there's a Comic-Con somewhere in the States, and this year obviously they can't hold the proper convention, so they're going to do everything online. And I'm really curious to see how that pans out, because they'll have kind of their special releases reserved for that Toy Con that will now be accessible through the web page, and you'll be able to communicate with the artists and watch lectures. So I guess it's a different area, and it's quite interesting.
Yeah, it would be interesting because you can just imagine how it can turn out, and then it's going to be interesting to find out about this. And okay, so moving on in the list, arts can also okay. I want to see what's your take on this. Uh, Arts can't be explained, or is the opposite? Like it's really like it's a natural thing for everyone to understand it, and it's very easy for you as an artist to explain it to people.
I don't think all art has meaning, and I think in a lot of cases it's just what you see is what you get. And if you want to give meaning to that, then that's completely up to you. Uh, but I think kind of trying to explain things gets a little tiring because it doesn't need to have a moral behind it or communicate some larger message or any of that.
Um, like you, so so you're rooting for no explanation, as in like it's an uh, easy thing to. I mean, wait. Let me put it this way, as in like you can for the viewer they can take it and implement it in any way that they can connect to it. That's what you're trying to do with your art.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, if I'm being completely honest, I don't create my art for anyone but myself. So everything I've done, unless it's a commission or a project that I've been working on with someone, I just do it because I want to do it and I think it looks good. And I don't care if people attribute meaning to it because
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of, yeah, wasn't my aim in the first place.
It kind of like it gets in the way of your productivity and like your imagination. I feel it. That's what like it can cause these type of how to say it obstacles in your head because you need to work with this client. I mean, you said it unless it's a client, then it's okay. But to give it a meaning for the viewer, you really just go natural about this point.
Mm,
Hmm. So okay, this is an interesting one. I always ask an artist, imagine this thing happened to you.
okay.
Pouring coffee on your drawing, okay? Would you kill yourself over it, or are you just gonna restart painting? I mean, restart doing the whole thing from scratch?
It depends on the drawing. If I love it and I can salvage it, then I'll do everything possible to do that.
Let's
Uh,
say the coffee is literally in like the center of the thing, like the most valuable point of that piece. How could you salvage that? I mean, like just try to imagine it.
I mean, you could dry it out, but if the ink bleeds, then I'll probably kind of leave my desk for a week or so and try and get
So,
right in my head and then come back to it. Or
mm,
maybe just leave it completely and not even start it again.
so moving on, getting inspired by traveling or watching a movie.
Hmm, I don't know. I mean, it depends.
If okay, if like if none of this, which what was the most inspiring thing for you that you've seen or you traveled or you that came across your way that inspired you to do something? Wow.
Uh, I guess it's looking at existing art by designers that I like.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of seeing what's going on out there in the world of character design. I mean, travel has inspired me in the past, specifically my trip to Bhutan and the kind of uh, Buddhist art.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing came of it. I mean, it was very inspiring whilst I was there, and the first
Mm-hmm.
week I was back. But then when it came to it, I just didn't follow through.
Yeah, I've heard Bhutan is a very nice place. I mean, a friend of mine went there. He's a travel like he travels and he does blogs and stuff. He was in the chat like earlier. I think he is not there anymore. If
Mhm.
Saram, if you're in the chat, please join in because she been to Bhutan, and he was showing me a lot of pictures, like about the mountains and like he went to some resort on top of not like a how to say it like small resort thingy on top of the mountain. It was very traditional and stuff like this. And he like he said it's one of those hidden gems in the world that not a lot of people know about.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's a fascinating place. There's a lot to explore there. And if you have the opportunity, I definitely say go for it.
Oh man, obviously after this whole freak show stops, I mean it's already I mean they're already opening up flights, but still it's not really advised to go ahead with the whole thing. So moving on, late night sessions or prefer during the day? Like if you want to draw something or do any art, do you have any late night sessions that you stay up and you do it, or you prefer to do it during the day?
Yeah, I used to draw a lot around like 2 a.m. and then keep going until like 4. Nowadays, the latest I can go is 12. I get really sleepy.
Mm-hmm.
Usually for personal projects, I'll draw at night, but for commissions, I'll do it during the day because it feels more like work, you know, I don't get carried away.
Mm-hmm. So, like you, but you like you had, I mean, most of your stuff was happening late night sessions.
Yeah, the older stuff, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, not so much.
And on that topic, I was wanted to check your stuff, as in like I've seen that you had like a clay that you made. Can you give us a rundown about that? Like, how was the journey of making it, and what inspired you to do this? Well, I mean,
So it's the little elephant guy, right?
excuse me.
It's the little elephant guy,
Yes,
right?
yes, that's the little elephant guy.
So he's actually number 2 in a series of animals that are shaped kind of like him.
Mm-hmm.
The first one
Is
was
that a series? Sorry, if I'm sorry if I cut you off. Can you tell us about the series? So you have like bunch of these.
so he's the second one. The first one was a Christmas pudding bear.
Wow, what's a Christmas pudding bear?
Should I get him out?
Sure, please do. Wow, Christmas pudding bear. I mean, first thing comes to mind is just like some sort of a dessert.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was going for. I wanted this kind of. So here he is.
Oh,
Uh,
that's nice.
little mistletoe. Yeah, he was the first one I did, and it was a success. So I did the elephant. Why an elephant? I don't know. I was drinking tea at the time, so I thought of a teacup elephant named Earl Grey.
Okay.
And because it sounds like such a kind of what's the word, aristocratic name, I put turned him into a sir, so he's got like a little monocle and a top hat.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
So so this is like what you call it? This is a teacup, or it's just a sculpture?
So it's a real teacup that I broke and then glued back together and then just primed and painted.
Oh, okay. So the those measurements are as big as that pudding bear thingy that you had? They are that big?
Yeah, they're the same size, but it wasn't. It didn't really matter about the size. It's more the shape of the character.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So how many of these you have in your series?
The teacup elephant was the second one. I haven't planned a third one. I'm currently working on a completely different style. So it's going to be, it's from a really, really old design I did a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And it's this plague doctor.
What doctor? Plague doctor.
Yeah, you know, with those like beak masks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm struggling a little bit to get the body dimensions right. But yeah, he's an ongoing project.
And regarding that, I mean, I heard that your style is inspired from the lowbrow custom culture. Yes. Can you give us an insight about that whole? What is it? Is it some sort of style, or is just a community, or what is it?
So there used to be an artist, and I think he was also a car mechanic, called Ed Big Daddy Roth.
That sounds like a wrestler name.
It does, right?
Yeah.
I mean, crazy guy, and he created a character called Rat Fink.
Rat
which is this
Fink.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he was ripping into the whole Mickey Mouse thing. So it's this green rat that's wearing these red overalls, and he's smelly and like his tail's broken and there's flies everywhere.
Damn.
So when I saw that image, and I actually heard about it through a podcast called Lifeform,
Mm-hmm.
which is by this Canadian artist. I mean, this was a few years back. I don't even know if it's still around. So that kind of got me into that scene, and I started looking at those kind of images, like these gross characters, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I started to get my style from.
Okay, so I mean, most of your work is inspired by that, but is there any other like inspirations aside of this custom culture, like the low brow?
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I love film noir and comic noir, like the shades
Mm-hmm.
and the dramatic energy you get. So my latest work for the past year has more intense shading than my earlier stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that, and then like 90s cartoons influences. I'm sure you can see. Like I've done
Exactly. Yes. So
Batman and like
so
Tinky.
as you said, like the that what you call it, that energy that it gives you. Is
Mm.
that a thing, or as in like it existed in this art platform, or it's been somehow just incorporated into it? I mean, was it intentional, or I mean, in your opinion, what's your take on it? It was intentional, or it just came by, like, let's say by what you call it, by coincidence?
You mean my style?
The one that you were saying that there's that dramatic energy into it.
Oh. No, I think it's a big part of the style itself. Like the lights and darks, they need to be very obvious, you know, and to have that kind of to give for the really dark areas to give the shape its form.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a major part of the film noir cinema since it kind of kicked off, right?
Mm-hmm. So, can you give us more example of those type of arts, as in like that whole the one with the energy, that it gives you that energy, or like, portrays energy as well?
Uh, well, it's more kind of, let me think. I guess you get an element of it in like The Punisher. There was a few comics, I don't even remember which ones it was, where the illustrator created these really dramatic scenes of the character kind of just really dark and then the light colors. But past that, I'm just looking at my comics now.
But do you have like a big collection of comics, like comic books or like comic figures and stuff like this?
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly graphic novels, so I really don't like the superhero genre, but I do like those old school superhero illustrations.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't like the story, I like the visuals. So I've got a few of those, like from the 80s. But other than that, it's there's a lot of stuff from the comics movement that's with an X at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So like Robert Crumb and I can't see them now. There's quite a few of those.
I mean, that's good. I mean, I wish you, like, I knew about this thing so we could, like, make some stuff ready to, showcase. But hopefully, like, once you have a new series coming out, maybe we can have a session and you can, like, showcase whatever you've done. I mean, that's actually a nice idea to do an episode on, like, the whole series that you have, and, just to explain it, if you, like, the most highlighted ones that it's, like, very close to you, like that elephant one that you, or that pudding bear. Christmas pudding bear,
Yeah.
yeah? That's the name.
I can't actually remember his name. I want to say pudding with an N, but I can't remember. This was like last year.
Okay, on that thing, can you tell us about the other artwork that you sent me? It's like a King Kong looking thingy on a van.
So that guy is called the Croc, the Herb, and the Magic Bus.
Mm-hmm.
and it's a piece I did for a competition called the High Art Contest.
Mm-hmm.
So the theme is obviously weed and magic.
Mm-hmm.
And
So it's 420 friendly.
yes, very much so.
Mm-hmm.
So the Croc's wearing this like little wizard's hat, so I can kind of bring the element of magic. And then you've got the spell book down at the bottom.
Mm-hmm. And how
And
old is this?
this is very, very recent. I think it's from Feb.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this was interesting. I mean, I didn't want to make it all about marijuana. I kind of wanted to bring in that more cartoony style that I have.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I've achieved that with the colors and just the obscurity of what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's very interesting. I mean, it's those. It has that arcadish feel to it. Now I can see that detailed stuff as in like the arcade and the cartoonish stuff about it, and it's very interesting how you. Because for me, if I want to go ahead and do such a thing, I would literally be on the digital platform for this thing and start drawing on that until I get something like this. But for you to sketch this first and then you scan it and then you do this, yeah?
Yeah.
So what was the first draft, like the sketch? Where did you reach with it? Like you had the croc and the van, or like you had what, the outlines? What was the first thing you draw?
Initially, I did about 12 to 15 drafts of this because I was going to do each element separate.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I put them all together in Illustrator, they didn't work proportion-wise. So I thought the best thing to do was to do it all in one go,
Mm-hmm.
which then created other difficulties. I mean, I usually work with layers, and if I've got each element on a different layer, it makes it easier to deal with colors and shades. But this had to be done, and then I had this whole issue with my scanner not being big enough because this was done on A3. And the Desco scanners were far too detailed, so it completely destroyed the feel I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I ended up doing was cutting up the original drawing and scanning each bit, which kind of hurt me, but I mean, I got this end result, so I'm happy.
Well, it's really interesting the way that you go about your art. Is just like I've seen this in the Western world, as in like the whole Banksy, that type of art. It's like for me, I get that feeling as in the street art and stuff like this, and it's because I like those things. I really can connect to it, and it's very fascinating that to be honest with you, you are the only person I know in this region that was doing this, because I know another guy who does digital arts, but that's very specific feel, and I had him on the show. It's very specific. Like he has some. Because I know the guy on a personal level, I understand that he has some messages through his art, and we always sat down and we talked about it, and he gave me that imagination of the thing, and then it made much more real, the whole concept, you understand it better when someone gives you a bit of background or a backbone about it. But with these things, it is very cartoonish and it's very nice. I mean, in my opinion, it's very straightforward. I mean, don't take me in the wrong way, as in it's easy access for everyone, as in it can catch everyone's eyes, and it's very catchy. It's it has that wow factor in it. It's just that I don't know why you were getting bad feedback, as it's satanic, or it has maybe it has a heavy theme to it, maybe. Yeah, but again, art is not for, when it comes to these type of arts, I'm sure it's not for everyone, because there is a lot of other forms of art that I don't understand, even in music. I literally don't understand it. So let's do rest of the game section. Are you up for it? Shall we continue with that? Okay. And for whoever is watching, thank you very much for still tuning in. Do me a favor, share the video and do all the good stuff. and join us for this section with your answers and be part of the game in the comment sections. I'm noticing that you're taking off the jacket and putting it on.
Yeah, so whenever the AC comes on, I get cold. Then when it goes off, I get warm.
Maybe you need to eat something. Maybe your blood sugar is low. I've
No,
learned that the hard way.
fair enough.
So the first one is if you can imagine one option, okay? Just one option for rest of your life that you're gonna be doing this for rest of your life. Digital arts or like real paintings, as in like to do it physically by yourself on a canvas.
Physically, for sure.
Really? I mean, with all that introduction you gave us and the whole scanning thing, and I thought you would go with digital arts, as in like to do it on a digital.
I only digitalize them to get the like final colors, right? But I can do that by hand. It's not an issue. I just hate being digital all the time.
Mm-hmm. So it's because of the coloring you go on digital, you mean?
Yeah, the only reason I digitalize is so I can have different color options because I can never make my mind up. So a lot of illustrations have about 10 or 15 different colors, and then just I decide which one I like the best right at the end.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And you mentioned it already, DC or Marvel?
Neither. I
Why?
don't care. I don't know enough about them. I don't know who's who and what world
It's
they
okay. It's
exist.
not about knowing who's who or whatever, or superpowers that they have, as in like character wise, as in design wise. Which company you root for, or you had much more connections with them?
To be honest, I don't know which characters exist to which universe, but I like the Punisher just because it's like that.
That's a Marvel character.
Okay, that's good to know. But
Really?
other than
Really?
that,
You didn't know these things? I mean, come on. I thought you would know it.
no, I've never been big into superheroes.
So what is the main I mean, obviously you know Superman and Batman.
Yeah,
So these are from DC Universe.
okay.
You know Wolverine,
Yeah,
X-Men. This is all Marvel. And I'm sure you're aware of Deadpool. These are all Marvel. I mean, okay, you know these characters. So design-wise, which one do you prefer? Like, which one do you think they actually, it's portraying the whole message behind the storyline or the movie or the game or whatever way better? Let's say, okay, for instance, Deadpool. Did you like the movie?
no.
Wow,
No, I really
man.
didn't. I was really irritated. I don't like watching superhero movies because it's like, especially I think it was Wonder Woman, it starts off with this kind of element of realism and then people start flying around and I just couldn't get with it, you know. I got bored very quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know now I can happily say that I know a person who's not into like all this Marvel and DC. Thank you very much for coming into my life, Myrto.
I'm sorry to upset you.
No, it's not obsession. It's no. Sorry, obsession. It's not that I'm upset. No, it's just like interesting because I know a lot of people that they don't like. When you open this topic with them, they just lose their shit. As in like, it's very sacrilegious. You can say, as in like, you're not into comics. What the fuck, dude? Like they have that attitude about it. But that's very interesting that you're not getting the vibe of it. I mean, for me, for example, I don't understand the whole vibe behind. I mean, I might get heat because of this, but I really don't care. It's just my personal preference. I don't see the whole buzz, or sorry, not buzz, fuzz behind. Is it fuss? Fuss or fuzz? Which one is it? Fuss, yeah?
Yeah.
Behind Star Wars. Like, I really don't get it.
Neither do I. I've never understood it.
Like, when they release something, oh my, like I had friends, I was at their place and they were watching some trailer, I don't know from which Star Wars it was, like I don't know which edition, and they were literally doing this, like oh my god, oh my god, oh, and they're looking at each other and like, they're so amazed, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? It's like, why you guys are so into this thing? It's like, it's just bunch of artificial shit, sci-fi crap that doesn't exist. I mean, by the way, a lot of things I just said, it might upset a lot of people, but I don't get it. I don't get that whole Star Wars thing. But for example, like Marvel stuff or DC stuff, yeah, I like it because I grew up with these cartoons, while I was when you're a kid. And it had its impact on us as in our childhood. So okay, that's amazing. Now I know you don't like DC and Marvel. So moving on. Okay, do you like street art? Street art should be legal or no?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's a means of expression, but then again, if you've got some asshole going and graffitiing people's houses, then that's just not fair.
Like, you think it should be like some restricted like areas for these type of things, and they should allow the artists to go ahead and feel free?
I mean, just public spaces, not private property. Imagine being that person whose house just got graffiti like sprayed on.
I'll be happy.
Really? Even if it's like those crappy tags that just say yo?
Well,
because then you can't really decide what street art is, right? Like a mural is usually a paid commission. It's not like a graffiti artist would just go and spend 12 hours of their day to create something beautiful. Like write this crap on your wall and then you have to deal with cleaning costs.
Well, yeah, now when you put it like this, but I was just having that idea of like someone does like Banksy stuff on my wall and I'll be like, yeah, that's nice.
I mean, I doubt it, because like someone like Banksy would want to do it in high profile areas, right?
And now the AC is on and your jacket is going on.
Yes, it is.
So, okay, moving on. Art doesn't have a price, or the opposite?
I think it should be accessible to everyone. But then again, so like I put all my stuff on Instagram, right? That's like my portfolio site. And anyone can view it for free. But then if you want it in your house, then obviously it's got a price.
I mean, are you against the idea of selling your art, or you like prefer to keep it for everyone just to admire it? Like I think there is some artists that they just showcase, they don't sell because they consider their art priceless.
Yeah, I think that's a little extreme. I mean, it's always great to get paid for your art because it does take you a lot of time and effort to create, regardless if you're making it for yourself or not. It does feel good to sell like a piece, but a bit of both, I guess.
Okay, moving on. Like while you're doing your drawings, listening to deep music while drawing, or meh, it doesn't matter?
I always have to listen to something. I usually like listening to creepypastas. I don't know if you know what they are.
I think Brent showed me that.
Yeah, they're like internet horror stories. So like short stories about some messed up thing that happened in the woods or something. And it's always very entertaining because they have a lot of monsters and like weird creatures in them, some of them. So it kind of spurs that motivation to create these weird, decrepit monsters.
Okay, that's very interesting. Now I have something to look up on the internet. Okay, moving on. You can't. Okay, this is some people, they believe this. So I want you to elaborate on this if you want to elaborate on it. You can't teach art as like drawing or like maybe the other forms. Maybe you can teach them, but I'm talking about the creativity part of it. You cannot teach art. Yes or no?
You can teach technique. You can teach someone how to look at something and replicate it. But I think you can teach the basics of how to come up with forms, right? That will just make it easier for an artist later on in life to kind of be able to draw without freaking out or losing their motivation. As for creativity, I mean, we can all draw before we can write. So as kids, like in nursery, you start by drawing, and that's how you're communicating your messages. So I think creativity is inherent in everyone, but then they just make a decision, or their parents make a decision early on to push them towards it or put them on a different path, and that's where it's lost.
I mean, in my, I mean, for example, why I'm mentioning this, because okay, on like for example in music, you can teach, as you said, you can teach the techniques, but when it comes to the whole creativity part of it, as in like it's something internal, you cannot just like feed a person like, oh, you need to be like, you need to imagine stuff, or you need to get inspired. It's something natural that I think, in my opinion, you can't, in some platforms you can't, just easily tell someone to do it. You get what I'm going with this?
Yeah, completely. But I think it all depends on you as a kid and what you were kind of put into when you were most kind of open to exploring creativity, right?
Well, it's one of these topics that there is a lot of room to debate about, as in like But again, I mean, I'm quite, let's say, biased about this. So, yeah, man, with these topics, like you need a lot of time. Like you can go in too deep into these things, and that's the beauty of it. You have some common ground with the person, and you guys share something. But I think the beauty comes in that part, that something about some specific part, and like he or she knows something specific from the other part, and you share information, and you learn something from one and each other. And why I'm like misspelling and making up words? Why? What is this? Anyway, so okay, like regarding that, as in like you cannot teach art and stuff like this. As an artist, do you think there is where is the value, or like what is the message behind the art that you're trying to present? Is it necessarily a message, or what are we looking at as an artist? What are you trying to make the viewer? I mean, okay, as you said, you are not that type of an artist, as in like it's not that you don't care, as in like yourself is the main focus. First person to be important is your idea and your intention and whatever you're presenting on the piece, that art piece. But for the viewer, like, do you think as like how they're gonna perceive this thing? What's the message you're trying to give them? For example, this the croc, one of the pieces that you did. What's the message that you're trying to send across?
To be honest, absolutely nothing. It's just a crocodile in a VW van that's obviously high, literally and not literally, and he's just flying.
So there is such an art that it's like, I'm sorry if I'm using the word, maybe I'm not using the right word, as in like, meaningless?
Yeah, I mean, people will always assign meaning to things. So whether or not you create it with that intention, you'll always get some people that try and
to label
give
it, you mean?
More essence. Yeah. But for me, it is literally like, it's very selfish, but I will just draw whatever I want. And if I think it looks nice, then that's all that matters to me.
I mean, yeah, as you said, people looking for something just to, justify their beliefs, or like, just to have a say in everything. I feel it this way as well. I mean, maybe being meaningless with your art, it's a new form already. It can be a new wave of, as we're talking about the new wave of arts, this could be a good example. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong.
Of course, but I don't think I'm at all the first to do this. Like, it's just
no, it's not about that. About this whole category. Let's put it in a category. Okay, let's assume this is by default is like falling under a category now, that there is such art that it's like this is just for the viewer to admire, or
Yeah.
you can take it anyway. There is no meaning behind it. So in that case, how, like, it's very fascinating for me because I've always, as a person, I wanted to appreciate something, and everything, I mean, by default everything has a meaning for us. You understand where I'm going with this? But
Mm.
sometimes with these type of arts that the artists themselves are saying it's meaningless, it's just a picture of something and you need to admire it as it is. It's just, I think it's hard for some people to understand because, as you said, everyone is looking to label shit.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's interesting. I've never actually had anyone come up to me and try and assign meaning to my work. And I don't know how I would react to that. I would probably laugh. But for me specifically, trying to create art with meaning just destroys the aesthetic side of it because it becomes work. And when I draw, it's not work. It's something I do because I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting because, again, this comes down to the whole, that it's a broad topic. There's a lot of ways to go about it, and again, I think that it becomes an open topic because people try to label it, but the way you're putting it is very simple, as in, like, listen, motherfucker, it's just this. Don't try to dig into shit, like, there is nothing in depth. Okay, there is that, let's say, story behind it, but nothing other than that. But again,
Yeah.
yeah, but again, I mean, people, we're talking about people, they
Mm.
always try to dig shit. If they can't find it, they just make up something. As they said, it looks satanic. I mean, like,
Mm.
wow, that's weird. That's really weird. So, I mean, as a final thing to wrap up the session, uh, I've mentioned this before. Like, how do you see it? Where do you think we're gonna end up with this thing? As in the whole art platform. Let's say, like, the whole sculpture side of it, like statues or drawings or digital arts. What was the purpose and where we are going with this? Are we going in the right direction, or there is some misleading parts that's happening? What's your take on it?
I honestly don't think there's a right or wrong direction. I don't think there's one direction. There's so many options to explore that anyone can take it in whatever way they want to. And I don't know. I honestly, like, I think kind of trying to put it into one specific box is not fair because it varies so much. I mean, each artist does something completely different, right? So I can't speak for like painting or toys or whatever. I mean, I'm hoping to see more toys out there, but it's already exploding as a market. And there's so many creative artists creating their own things. But I honestly don't think there's just one option or one direction of how they should move forward.
So, I mean, with this line of toys, I don't think it would be like I think there would be age restriction with that stuff because it's not meant for everyone. Am I wrong? Or, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, even if you buy these collectibles, it says on the box, not a toy, ages 15 and up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's more kind of figurines. It's just the term used to describe it is like an artist toy.
Mm-hmm. It's a very, very again, it's hard to explain it to people because they might not understand it and they don't take it easy. It comes to that point. So let's leave it at that point, and people should understand it the way they want. And if they justify it in their own world, there's always room for debate. So more than welcome to talk about it. So, Myrto, any last final words? And can you tell them where they can find you? I've already mentioned your Instagram and your website. Can you just elaborate more on that, where they can find your arts if they want to purchase it and all these good stuff?
Sure. I mean, if you like my art, thanks. I really appreciate the support. If you just DM me on Instagram, all of my work is there. My website's kind of behind. I need to update that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just feel free to message me on Instagram, or if you're up for a collaboration or you want to know something that I didn't talk about tonight, then go ahead.
So you guys heard the main guy, where you can find her stuff. So go down to her Instagram, talk to her, message her, and maybe she's accepting collaborations, and that's a great thing. I've never seen an artist as in like in that platform to collaborate. I don't know even how it's gonna happen. Like it's weird because in music you do collaborate, okay, but in this form I don't know how you're gonna collaborate, and that would be interesting. Please let me know if there is any result of it, that type of collaboration. I would really look forward, like I'm looking forward to find out about that. And I just want to thank you very much for coming on the show. It was very interesting to see these things from your scope and how you look at it, and you know, for an artist to be different and not giving a fuck about like how people they labelize her shit or not. It's a very unique way to go about, and I want to thank you. Keep it up. Your stuff is freaking great. I hope I get my album art from you soon enough, because most probably I really dig your stuff. So there is a high chance that I'm gonna be contacting you. I mean, we might even meet up at Moto, just to chill and have a coffee and talk about this stuff. But again, it was a great session. Thank you very much for joining me for this episode, and I hope I see you soon. And thank you again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been awesome. Great chat.
It's all my pleasure. Thank you very much. And I want to thank everyone who tuned in. Thank you very much for sticking around. I mean, I'm trying to create these type of contents and, let know the community about artists such as Myrto exist in this community. And we need to look up to their art and, find out about them and promote them in any way. It's not necessary that you buy her arts. If you could, that's amazing. But you can just share the message and share her information with someone that might be interested. So thank you very much again, Myrto. I hope I see you soon, and you stay safe.
You too.
Take care and have a good night. See you guys soon.